everybody, and welcome back. Let's just jump right into this. Today, the question of the week is, how do I avoid getting banned on Amazon or getting my account shut down? And I actually sent out I have a weekly author tips and news newsletter that I send out. And this was the topic that I covered, I think 2 weeks ago. So sometime in later February of 2026. And then I got the question again this morning because people are seeing this a lot in different Facebook groups that they're in or other groups that they're in where it seems like, and the operative word here is seems, a lot of people are getting banned from, a lot of indie authors or self-publishing authors are getting banned from Amazon. So it's like, how do we avoid this? And so I wanted to touch upon this today because there are a couple of aspects of getting banned on Amazon that I don't think are talked about enough. The first thing is this: be mindful of where you're seeing the content that's saying so many people are being banned. I think that it's such a huge fear that indie authors have that if we see it more than once, we almost think it's just rampant. It's not rampant. It does happen. And in similar fashion to the way that people panic about having their Meta ads, so their Facebook and Instagram ads account shut down for ridiculous reasons, the fear is there, which I get. The challenge is that just like with the fear of Meta ads, authors are sometimes so focused on not getting their ad or their Amazon account shut down that they don't move at all. So they just delay because they're trying so hard to avoid that fate. And then they also worry, well, just so I can be prepared, Elizabeth, what do I do if I do get banned? And I'm all about having a readiness plan and a preparedness plan, provided that it's just that and it gives you the comfort to move forward, not stay stuck. So the first thing I want to say is that when people are in, let's just say Facebook groups, because that's the majority of where I'm hearing that people are hearing this. Facebook groups with independent authors in them. So typically self-publishing authors. There's a K-boards group still. I don't even know where it lives. It might, like, there are Reddit threads for self-publishing and indie authors, things like that. A lot of times context is really important because the individuals who are saying that their Amazon accounts were shut down are actually behaving in ways they shouldn't be. So, and that's not across the board, by the way. There are many, I don't want to say even many, but there are legitimate self-publishing authors who have had their Amazon accounts deactivated, suspended, completely shut down. I work with an author who had this happen a couple of weeks ago. She's still trying to figure out why and how to get it back. It's extremely frustrating, and it's understandable why people are nervous about it. And keep in mind the context of who's posting. Like, you might want to do a little bit of research before you have a complete panic attack into, well, are they someone who, for example, has 300 books on Amazon because they're posting a book every day? That's a very real thing right now with the advent of AI. And the Amazon accounts are not being shut down by a human. They're being shut down by AI because there are flags that are being raised that signal this is fraudulent activity or this is questionable activity. And then from there, getting a human on the phone, if you're not doing something fraudulent or unethical or whatever, is not easy to do, but it's possible to do. The first thing when it comes to having a viable Amazon account and doing your best to make sure that it doesn't get suspended or shut down entirely is, do not try to game the Amazon system. There are programs and courses and YouTube videos and all manner of things out there many of which lead to a course about like, I can guarantee that you won't get banned and this is how, and also I can guarantee that you can make all this money and sell all these books and this is how. And the dream sounds super appealing, but the reality is usually not. So first and foremost, do not fall for the idea that you can, in any way, shape, or form, game Amazon's system, because in my experience and the experience of the hundreds of other independent authors with whom I've spoken, you cannot do that successfully for more than about 7.5 minutes. So that's number one. Now, when it comes to how people game the system, even if they don't realize they're gaming the system, these are the things you want to avoid. Number one, do not keyword stuff anything. A lot of the authors who are publishing prolifically, and by that, I mean they're releasing a book at every month, sometimes every week, sometimes every day. Yes, they're using AI generated content, the whole thing, which to their credit, Amazon is trying to weed out. It's not easy to do for all of the reasons you can probably imagine, and many you can't. But the number of books that people are trying to upload to Amazon in order to make quick money is unbelievable. And so when you're uploading, if you are doing specifically an ebook, lots of times authors who are not doing this whole thing, see the air quotes, the right way, will keyword stuff. They're doing research to find out what kinds of books are selling. This is a whole market in and of itself, I might add. And I'm not here to say it's bad or wrong or any of that. I'm just saying this is another aspect of being an author, see the air quotes, that's not the space in which I travel, and it's not the space in which people who listen to this podcast and come on this podcast travel. And it's important to be aware of it, if only so that you understand that these authors, air quotes, are occupying the same space as you, or trying to. So they don't even publish printable books. They publish ebooks only. And what they do is they go out and they do some research to determine what are high search phrases. So what are people looking for where there's very low competition? And they find those topics and they have AI write a book about it and they upload it, typically just as an ebook, because it's really completely free to do that. You don't have to have a cover design, the whole thing. You don't have to buy an ISBN. You can use Amazon's ISBN, and they go to town. And so when they do that, one of the things they do is they keyword stuff their subtitle with those keywords that are highly searched but have low competition. And so therefore, what you may see sometimes is subtitles on books, and you'll see this even with the paperback version, that are insane. Like, it's not a step-by-step guide to fill in the blank. It looks much, if you've ever spent time on Etsy and you look at an Etsy title of a product or something that you buy on Etsy, and it's like, it's not a sentence. It's a bunch of words separated by vertical lines because the person who's created that product is using keywords to get to pop up higher in the algorithm. So the title of the product doesn't always make a lot of sense until you go in and read it. This is the same with the ebooks. So keyword stuffing your subtitle for greater visibility is not something that I recommend. That's number one. Number two, when you're creating your keywords for your listing on Amazon, do not use competitive author names. Do not use competitor book titles unless it makes sense for your book. So, for example, my most recent book is titled Write the Damn Book Already. So I can use the phrase, like, I wouldn't use Write the Damn Book Already, but I can use the word book because the word book is in the title of my book. Whereas let's take my fourth book, which is titled Enough. If I were to say enough book, Amazon doesn't like that I use the word book. They don't recommend that anymore because you're loading your book into the book section of Amazon. So it almost seems like you're trying to double dip in the keywords. So don't keyword stuff your keywords. Now you can use long tail keywords, which means long keywords like how to write a memoir for women. That's a long tail keyword. And it's because it's a keyword phrase. And because you have that phrase in your keywords, if someone were to search how to write a memoir woman, write a memoir as a woman, all of those things would correlate with your long tail keyword, whereas the word memoir is just a single keyword and also way too big and broad, but that's a totally different topic. So don't do that. Don't try to game the categories. So don't pick a completely irrelevant category because you think that if you sell one book in that category and there are only 3 books in the category or some such thing, that you're going to rise and you're going to be able to say, oh, I'm a bestseller in this. I'm a bestseller on Amazon. When in reality, everyone will look at your book and say, no, they're a bestseller in nursing, but their book is about like how to build a crypto business. Amazon puts 2 and 2 together and starts to think like this person, this author, air quotes, is not serious. And I'm going to get, by the way, to what to do if you are serious, because this happens to serious authors too. And that's where it's most devastating because you have committed the time and the energy and you're getting like blocked by Amazon. So some other suggestions: do not review bomb. Now, in the author space, review bombing often means you write a bad review. You get a bunch of people have done this. It's horrific. But an author will compel a bunch of individuals to go out and write bad reviews for their competition so that it helps people. I don't even want to talk about it any more than that. But that's what review bombing is typically. Another sort of definition of review bombing is having everyone review your book on the same day. So when I guide people through a launch process, which I just have a 12-day launch strategy that I offer through my course From Manuscript to Market. And it's just it's for people who are like, I don't even know what to do. Just tell me what to do on days 1 through 12 so I can get a good head start. It's not a be all end all. There are no magic bullets, but it's a structured way to get your book into the world. And one of the things that I mention in that course is if you have a group of people who are willing to go out and purchase your ebook when it's on sale and leave a review, which is then a verified review because they've purchased a version of the book, in this case, the ebook, don't ask them all to go review on the same day. Because if 30 reviews come into Amazon on a Tuesday and then no more come in for the next week, Amazon's system goes, wait, this feels like it was calculated. This feels like there was a campaign to get all these reviews to come in at the same time. So this no longer feels organic and natural. We got to look into this more. And by we, I mean the bots behind Amazon's system. So don't do that. Spread out reviews. Authors are often understandably really anxious to get that review number climbing higher and higher. And I totally get it. There is a gift in taking that slowly. Number one, it's so much easier on your nervous system and there's no panic attacks, which we love. Number two, Amazon likes it more. The system would far prefer to receive one email every 2 days for 30 days than 15, reviews, then 15 reviews on one day and then no more for the next 30 days. It is this whole industry. If there is a secret, see the air quotes, to this industry, it's slow and steady. It's consistency. To keep things consistent. Now, of course, depending on your audience size, when your book launches, you may have a really big launch and then it's going to peter off. And now you're going after what we, people who have never heard of you. So you're going after new readers. And Amazon expects that, especially if there's a lot of publicity around a book. But that's more likely to be in the traditional world than in the indie world. So all that being said, those are a few ways to make sure that you're not, just ask yourself, am I trying to game the system here? And if you can honestly answer unto yourself, maybe a little bit, I would encourage you to look at that and not do that. There is a very clear process for uploading a book to Amazon as a self-publishing author. It is straightforward. Because of that, it doesn't have to be super complicated. It certainly can be overwhelming the first time because it's the first time you've ever done it. The first time you drove a car, if you're anything like me, it was highly overwhelming, and it was a stick, and it was, oh my God. And my dad made me learn going uphill. So, I mean, it was very overwhelming. But now, I mean, I don't even think about it now. I can still drive a manual transmission do they even make those anymore? Anyway, so that's that, right? Is use the process that they want you. They now ask, did you use AI in the writing of this book? Now, there's debate over whether they're asking that for information, like they're doing research, or whether they're holding you to that. So I tell people to be honest about that. If you've used AI, because I don't guide authors with whom I work to use AI to write their book, nor do I use AI, but it's a whole thing that a lot of people are doing. And again, I'm not here to say that that's wrong or bad or any, I can't speak to it on a whole level. It's not what I do. So if, God forbid, you get an email that says your Amazon account has been suspended or outright shut down, and they usually are quite vague in the rationale because, again, it's not a human. So they have canned reasons that they send out, and it'll usually be something like copyright infringement, and you're like, what? Or you're not adhering to our community guidelines, and you're like, well, which community guideline did I not adhere to? I mean, there are a number of canned responses, and none of them is particularly clear in terms of why you've been suspended. So the first thing you can do is appeal. So there will be a button or an option to appeal that decision, which you can do. And ideally, that would prompt them to respond to you with more information about why your account has been suspended. That does not always work. So I actually know of several people who have had their accounts suspended and they've appealed multiple times only to be told our decision stands and now we're actually deactivating your account. So number one, there's sort of the first line of defense, and then there's the Hail Mary. Now, for me, a couple of things. I actually have, I don't even know if I should admit this, like who's listening, but I have 2 KDP accounts. I have one for the books that I do that are like what I would call my serious author books. So all my 6 books that I've written that are nonfiction, that I've put my heart and soul into, that were fully edited and blah, 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 blah. Those are all under a certain KDP account. I also have enjoyed experimenting with a couple of coloring books. It's just fun. And I've designed those with AI. I cannot draw. So anyone who knows me, but they were just meant to be fun. They were a little bit of an experiment for something. Books like that. So again, when I said in the beginning that you want to check the context of who's saying their account was banned, what kind of books are they writing? Because coloring books are an example. Coloring books, journals, those books are much more likely to be flagged because they can be created incredibly quickly. I mean, I know people who make a decent living, and that's defined differently by different people, but 6 figures off of book sales per year who design coloring books. And they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of coloring books for sale. Like, I don't even know how they came up with all these ideas, but we're talking well over 500 coloring books. So then when you break that out, the net earnings from each coloring book is not 6 figures. So there's a little bit of context missing when they're saying this is how much I earned. And again, that's not me even disparaging that. I think the context is important whenever you're sharing sales numbers in order to bring someone into a course, but that's different. Okay. So when you're doing that kind of, they call it, I think, low content or low text content on Amazon, they're more likely to take a closer look because it's so easy to just generate garbage and load it up there and then sell it, and people are disgruntled, which, by the way, is another thing that can get an account suspended, is if Amazon is consistently receiving returns or complaints about a book because it's poorly formatted. We'll just stop there. We'll just say because it's poorly formatted. So if they see one thing on Amazon and they order it, whether it's an ebook or a print version, and they receive it and they open it and they're like, what in God's name is this? Like, it's all cattywampus, and they send a bunch of returns. I mean, Amazon doesn't want to deal with that, understandably. So that's a reason that they would cancel an account. It is also the reason to properly format your books, even if you are designing journals or coloring books. And I mean, I've designed this is not negative about that. This is saying whatever you're going to do it to your best ability. And then if the worst case happens, here's what we do. So worst case has happened, you've gotten this email. Your first thing is appeal. If that comes back rejected again, your second course of action is get a person on the phone. So it is difficult to get a phone number for KDP, if not impossible. There is, however, a way to get them on the phone. And when you log in to your KDP account, there is a help button within there, and you kind of have to go through. It's like press 1 if this, press 2 if that. You have to go through a version of that. So it'll say, what do you need help with? And you'll click whatever you click, and it'll keep prompting you until you finally see a button that says, call me. When you click that button, you put your phone number in. They will call you shortly. Make sure that you have your phone switched so that you don't have send spam to spam. Make sure that you've turned that off so their call can come through. Now, at that point, you're going to be on the phone with someone at a lower level of the whole organization. So they're probably going to look into it, and they might be very, very kind, but in all likelihood, they're going to say, I'm sorry, it looks like it's been flagged for not agreeing with our policies. And you're going to say, I need to talk to a supervisor. So you've got to go up the chain. The key with this is patience and persistence, period. I did not even mean for the alliteration there, but it's truly what it is. So you keep going up the chain. Now, while you're doing that, there are a couple other things you can, if it were me guiding you, I would say, don't dive into plan B just yet. Just keep going up the chain to try to get this account resolved. If you have a sizable audience, and I don't know exactly how I would quantify that, but if you can get some other people to tag KDP in posts and say, this book, I want this book. You've suspended this author. Please look into this. Sometimes that can help in much the same way that if you're having a problem with an airline, people used to use Twitter to be like, whatever airline, I'm stuck. And then they'd respond because they didn't want the publicity. That's an option too. Now, let's say you get through all that. Nobody can help you. They just are like, sorry, we're not even going to talk to you anymore. You're done. Yes, you can distribute through Amazon via Ingram Spark, Draft to Digital, a variety of other distribution platforms. So if you want your book to be available for purchase on Amazon, there are other distributors that you can partner with to make that happen. However, your royalty amount will be about a quarter of what it was when you were distributing directly through Amazon. So I don't know about you, but if I'm selling a book and someone's buying it, someone's choosing it to buy it on Amazon, I would prefer to get my 60% royalty, not a 12% or a 10% royalty. And if they want to buy it on bookshop.org or Barnes & Noble, I'm fine with that. And I'm fine to take the 25% royalty. That's fine. But if they're going to buy it on Amazon, I would prefer to get that full 60%. And I'm guessing that you would too. So the question, well, can I just add Amazon as a distributor through these other distribution platforms? It's a valid question. And the answer is yes, you typically can. but you would be dealing with that lower royalty percentage. So for people who do the vast majority of their sales through Amazon, which I do, and most of the authors with whom I work and speak do, you would prefer to get that higher royalty percentage. Okay. So with that being said, another option, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, is to set up a new KDP account under a different email address. That does not always work because sometimes your publishing house name, sometimes your name, sometimes your book's name has also been flagged. So even though you have a different email address, your publishing house name, your publishing company name, your book, all of that might be stored somewhere like blacklisted within the Amazon system. And also, yes, there's always the chance that then that account would get suspended or shut down. I am a firm believer that, and I haven't, knock on wood, experienced this myself, but I've navigated this with several people. And I'm a firm believer that patience and persistence and getting in touch with someone and just continuing to email, continuing to have them call you, continuing to request someone higher and higher and higher and saying, listen, like, this is my business. This is, whatever, what proof do you need that this is legitimate and that, and I need evidence from you, Amazon, of what I've done beyond just you've gone against our guidelines. How have I gone against your guidelines? Because I don't think I can. I think there's been a mistake. And continuing to be kind. Remember, the person you're talking to at Amazon, this is not their fault. So you're heated, you're frustrated, and you're getting more so with every phone call, but do your very best to be kind. Because as I'm sure you can imagine, if you were the one on the other end of this call, if someone is just shouting at you, you do not feel inclined to help. And I have gotten really good customer service from Amazon when I've needed it. And I think being kind and making sure that you are clear that, look, I know this isn't your fault specifically. I am frustrated and I'm really hoping you can help me, goes a very long way. The first line of defense, though, coming full circle here, is just load the book properly. So don't try to cut corners. Do not try to game the system. Just load it properly. I actually have a self-publishing starter kit. I will put the link in the episode notes that walks you through. It's 4 of the critical, I hate the word mistakes, but let's just call it that self-publishing authors make. I know this because I made them all many, many years ago. That they you don't have to make these mistakes. And frankly, not making these mistakes will help your book be a bit more solid in the Amazon ecosystem. And then if it feels right and you want to also join the Publish the Damn Book Already course, you can do that. And I walk you through every aspect of how to load properly to Amazon. Even if you go through all that, because of the plethora of books that are being loaded every hour to Amazon's system, there's just sadly no guarantee that you won't fall into this situation. But again, if you're doing this whole thing for the right reasons, we just stay persistent, patient, and kind, and try to work your way through it. As I tell other people, there's always going to be a solution. There are too many distribution options for self-publishing authors. There's always going to be a solution, and I get a little bit like, I'm not Pollyanna about it. It's not like, well, let's find a silver lining, but I've been doing this for too long and overcome too many roadblocks myself and helped other people overcome too many roadblocks to not have that belief of, okay, we can figure this out. So let it not stop you. Let it not strike immense fear into you. This process is so vulnerable for so many people for so many reasons, which is why I do this podcast to begin with. to just continue to reinforce and validate that we are all in the same boat. We're all in it together. We just don't realize it sometimes. So if you have additional questions about this or any other aspect of the self-publishing process, please feel free to either email me at elizabeth@elizabethlyons.com or elizabeth@publishaprofitablebook.com. Either goes to the same place. Or you can DM me on Instagram at Elizabeth Lyons Author and pose the question, and I'll bring it into another episode in the future. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll talk to you again next week.